Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified Sufesa trainer. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, I talk with Pat Duffy from Duffy AIS in New York. This episode is brought to you by Viga. As an industry leader, Viga is committed to providing continued support for trades education and is a proud sponsor of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast. What's up, everybody? I'm super excited tonight. Got my friend Patrick Duffy on. Patrick's a really cool guy. I've met him just through our industry. We're co-workers now, I guess.
We are.
So Patrick's a really cool dude. He scared me one day. I'm gonna tell a story real quick. So I met him at Sufesa, the award show, and so I won the award. The next day I was leaving. It was in the morning, and he was leaving too, and I didn't know it. And I'm sitting there, and my truck won't start. I'm mad. I'm trying to drive home, and there's some guy in a biker vest beating on the window and pointing at me, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what I did, and then it clicked. I realized who it was. I didn't recognize him in his vest. So how are you?
Sneak around incognito.
Yeah, I never would have expected that. I was like, who is this? So how are you tonight?
Doing great. Doing good.
Good.
Not with you. I didn't bring my bourbon, but my bad.
Are you in the home office or are you at work? Or
this is my home and my office. It's the only one I got. So this is where I work every day when I'm not on the road.
So you're not like Gary. You don't drive 20 minutes into the office just to get away from the home.
I don't, but I could walk. It's a 3-minute walk to our main office, and I live right next to her.
Nice.
I still have an office here. Yeah, a little bit more quiet.
That's cool. No, I always wonder if Gary's in town. I walk by and his door's closed. I'm like, yep, Gary's here. He's a busy man. So
he is.
I wanted to bring you on because you got a really cool story. I asked you for some background before we started. Last week talking about this, and you mentioned that like 13 years old, you were carrying someone's tool bags when they're running calls.
Yeah. So my parents started the business in '63, and my cousin started carrying my dad's toolbox when he was 12. He was about 10 years older than I was, 12 years older than I was. So when his name was Paul, when Paul he opened our first branch when he was, I think, like 19. So being that he was 12 years older, when I was 13, I started spending my summer vacations and my Easter breaks and school breaks down staying with Paul and carrying his toolbox. Paul had 2 boys that were in our industry that worked with Duffy's, and I have a son that worked with Duffy's, and they were all about the same spacing, and it really worked well as kind of a mentor thing before mentor was a word, I guess. Just a break. Working with your dad is always, or can be, tough, and working with your uncle or your cousin seems to worked for us a little bit better. So yeah, when I was 13, that's what I would do on my school breaks. I would go down and stay with Paul for a week, and during the summers I would spend at least half the summer living with him. God bless him, and carrying his toolbox and just hanging around, learning what I could pick up, and it was a win-win because I got a couple bucks out of it. I'm not sure it was a win for Paul, but my parents got me out of their hair for the summer, so that was a win. It was definitely a win for them. And the joke is always was in our family that as they opened branches, they opened them further and further away because they were looking to push me further and further away in summer. So
That's funny. Yeah, I always want my kid. As you know, my oldest son works for me. He's 20 years old. He's worked here about 9 months now, and he's doing pretty good. And my youngest son's 17. And my youngest son actually showed interest when he was like 13 years old, and I always wanted to do like a ride along, but we're such a big thing that insurance companies not going to let that happen. Have a 13-year-old kid riding along carrying
Right.
tools anymore. So,
Right.
but he still wants to do it. So we'll see what happens, and he graduates after this year. So we'll see what happens. But
Good. I hope he does.
yeah, I told my boss, like, man, if my other son works here, you're going to put our last name on the front door.
Right. That was the joke with Paul too. We tried to get him to have as many kids, as many boys as he could because we needed them.
That's funny. That's funny. So you said by the time you were 16, you started doing like PMs on your own over the summer and stuff, running around.
Yeah, actually, well, before that, of course, I couldn't drive in New York before I was 16. But before that, I was running the school PMs in the summertime. The school shut down, and you go through and check out all the equipment. There's no pressure. You're there all day. There's nobody putting hot oil down your back or anything. Um, so I was actually running the PMs with newer guys, with training guys, showing them how to do the PMs. When I finally got to be able to drive at 16, I could go out and do the PMs in some of them were in Pennsylvania and all around the Binghamton. It's the branch I worked at there. Um, so yeah, I was doing PMs because that's a great place to train. I'm not sure you probably right know from experience. Great place to train. You've got all day, like I said. There's no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You can take your time and show people how to do every step. And so just that's how I learned, and that's how a lot of our guys have learned too in summertime PMs.
That's cool. We used to do a lot of PMs. It's kind of fallen off with COVID. Things kind of changed. People kind of directed their money other ways. But we got a big program coming up. There's like 70 rational combis we're going to PM over the summer. We're doing a full, motor shaft gasket, descales, filters. We're doing everything 9 yards. So we've got my son and another younger guy. He was actually on the show a couple weeks ago. Jake. We're actually going to work them through all the details on how to descale them because there's all different models. It's the old SCC non-Wii all the way up into Wii. They may even have an iCombi by now. So, we're going to get a chance to run through all the reiterations of the rationale in the last 15 years. And
That's awesome, all in one place.
yeah, really get to show them what's up. So I'm looking forward to that. The bad thing is when that project's done, our most senior tech's going to retire. So he's just waiting for the project. So he's like, I think my boss is like dragging it out as long as he can to keep him here. But unfortunately, it happens. I mean, he's done his time and he's sore. He's ready to go. So I don't fault him.
Just a shame to have that much knowledge walking out the door, though.
Yeah, yeah. I had him on here last year. I think he's a really smart guy. He's been doing it 39 years now.
Wow.
And the thing I have to explain to him is he's like he wants to complain about the younger guys not catching on as fast. I'm like, look, dude, when you started, you could carry a tote full of parts. And those were common parts between every single oven had the same thermostat. Every single fryer had the same thermostat. I said, you had common parts. I said, nothing's common anymore. I said,
right.
Started, the sophisticated wiring on an electric oven was like, 25, 30 wires. I said, now you got ovens that have a mile of wire in there. And they're all the same color. I said, you got to give these guys a break. You learned on a knob. These things have full computers on them now.
Right. Yeah. And there weren't, I mean, probably half of the stuff that we work on now wasn't even around back then. High-speed ovens and combi ovens and flash bake ovens, all kinds of stuff that it wasn't even there. So you're right. You could also generally open up a cover and see things moving around inside. Now it's all no moving parts. Everything's solid state, circuit board, computer.
Poor Scott Westbrook's mad. I said the R word.
Scott.
I love Scott. He's helped me out a bunch, just replying to some comments and some stuff I've done. I like Scott.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I haven't got to meet him in person yet, but I'm going to.
Nice. So, you said you went to college. How'd that end up, and how'd you end up back here?
So I mentioned that my parents started the company. I was the only son, and it's all I ever wanted to do was to be my dad, and that's all we talked about at the dinner table. So when I graduated, I wanted to go to work, and again, I had been working since I was 13, so I already knew what I wanted to do. My parents wanted me to go to college. They absolutely wanted me to get some better education than just what they could teach me. And I didn't want to, but I didn't have any choice. I was 18 years old, so I did what they said. I said, all right, we'll give it a try. And we did. And I went for a year. Well, I should say I was enrolled for a year. I didn't go all that much. My heart wasn't in it. I had a great time, had a lot of fun, but I didn't learn jack. The closest thing, we were talking about this a little bit before, Pat. There's no, our industry is such a niche, specialized thing that there wasn't, it still really isn't a class, a college degree in what we do.
Mhm.
So I went for electrical engineering technology. I was bored to tears. I wanted to go to work, just a bad combination. So at the end of the year, um, my parents conceded and allowed me to go to work full time. And from there, I moved to our Binghamton branch. I lived above the shop for a year, and then I moved to the Syracuse branch. Well, I moved to Syracuse. Um, Thanks, Scott. Um, and moved to Syracuse. Then I opened a branch in Watertown, and then eventually Rochester, so on and so forth. It just kept opening branches and growing and growing. I live at each one for between 2 and 10 years, and then move on to open up another one, and that's how we grew. And that's pretty much how we continue to grow. I'm not opening the branches, but we get a guy who's ready to take on that responsibility, and we plop them down in a city, and away we go.
That's crazy. So it was bred and born into you, and college wasn't in it. I always people kind of get mad at me because my son wanted to go to college. He wanted to go off of his buddies, and if you know my son, you know he's a little bit of a party animal. And I knew it was going to happen, so I tried to tell him. And I think I may have scared him a little too much because he went straight to work. He did some work for the city, and then he didn't know what he wanted to do. He was trying to be a lineman, and it didn't work out. So one day he just came to me and said, "Hey, are you guys hired?" And I was like, "Are you sure you want to work with me? Are you sure you want to do this?" This kid I only seen him use a tool one time. He changed his brakes one time. I did one side and he did the other. I mean, that's the only time he's ever used a tool in his life. I was like, "You're gonna have a rough life for a while, bud." But he's doing good. He caught on. He went to Cephas a couple of months back. He was actually in Paul's class. Paul did pretty good. Paul said he was a really sharp kid and restored faith in the younger generation of techs. I believe what Paul said to me about.
Wow, nice.
So that's cool. So you guys are based out of where's your home office and what all do you
It's
get?
a little town near Utica, New York, called Sequoia, New York. It's right next door to my house, right behind my parents' house, and right next to my house. And from Sequoia, we have 6 other branches that cover all of upstate New York. We don't go anywhere near the city. We cover upstate New York. We go a little bit into Vermont, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania because some of our branches border those states. So
Nice.
yeah,
So in the last few years, you guys merged with some other companies.
we
Or
did. So Duffy's has been around for, like I said, since '63. We only did hot. We never did any cold side. So we were. I'd like to think that we were very proficient at the hot side.
Mhm.
Our main competition was AIS, Appliance Installation and Service, mostly in Western New York, Central and Western New York, and they were stronger in refrigeration. They did hot, but um, if you know guys who do hot and cold side, they tend to have a preference, one or the other, and it's usually cold. So they were stronger in cold. We didn't have any cold at all. And they also had a division called ECS, which is an installation division where they did big installs. So a big equipment dealer in Buffalo approached Wayne Stoutner, who was running, him and Paul Glowacki were running AIS out in Buffalo, approached them and wanted to talk about buying them, mostly, I think, because of the installation division that they had. And he was, they're going to lock up the state and blah, blah, blah. And Wayne, the story is that Wayne said, geez, if you were smart, you really wanted to lock up the state, you'd buy us and Duffy's, because then you'd have it. You'd have the whole state, you'd have hot and cold and blah, 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 blah. So he brought us in. Paul and I sat down and talked with them. And after a while, it made a lot of sense, putting the best of both of us together. Um, that deal did not go through. But the talks and the thought kept rolling around. If it was a good idea for someone else to do it, why isn't it a good idea for us to do it? And so we put our businesses together, all three of them. So then we offered in 2018. So we were able to offer hot, cold, and full install. So we never had to tell our customers no that we can't do that. So just soup to nuts. It was a great partnership.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, like you said, there's guys that generally do both. They kind of tend to lean one way. I'm the same way. I do everything. I don't know how I do it as well as I do. It's just kind of, I take pride and passion in my work, so I kind of just find a way. But here recently, I haven't done a whole lot of refrigeration. I've been missing it, so I got to do a couple refrigeration calls here lately. And I told them, I was like, "You're gonna have to give me some more refrigeration calls, or I'm gonna get bored and find some place I can do them." And that kind of scared them a little bit. So
it's a different animal, different tools, just a different mindset. You're on a job for hours and hours as opposed to just banging them out like the hot side ones.
Yep, that was my problem when I first started doing refrigeration. I was self-taught. Unfortunate incident. I didn't follow, something didn't follow through the way it's supposed to, and just their idea of teaching me refrigeration was throwing stuff on their truck, telling me to figure it out. So, but when I first started, I came from a hot side background, and this is bang, bang, bang. And I thought I could do it for refrigeration. And it was call back, call back, call back. I figured out real fast that I couldn't do it that way. It takes time, it takes patience, and I still a lot of times don't have patience. I'm luckily I have a phone. I'm playing on my phone. I'm doing stuff like that. But I get away with the phone thing because I have job link probes, and they're Bluetooth probes, and it's chisels with my phone. So if a customer walks by, I can flip over real quick. Like, oh no, I'm just look, I'm watching your system or whatever. So, but yeah, some days I'm like, why did I say I wanted to do refrigeration? And there's other days it's all I want to do because it's more slow paced. It's a different set of challenges, mindset, like you said. So it's cool.
I never did learn it. We merged with AIS long after I was done being a tech, and I don't think. Now my son does it, and a lot of our hot side techs that were Duffy's techs have got their EPA and have learned the cold side, and I applaud all of them. That's fantastic. I honestly don't think. First of all, I don't think I have the patience for it. Plus, I'm not sure I could learn an entire different skill set like that at this point, anyway.
Brett, no, in the restaurant world, I'm not working on racks, and I don't have people at grocery stores freaking out on me, man. So it's a little slower pace for us over there. Mm-hmm. Brett works for Coolsys, but he's done rack refrigeration. He's done all kinds of big stuff. So he's giving me a hard time about saying it's slow paced. So how long ago were you guys bought up by our parent company?
It was in December 1st of 2021, not too long ago.
Yeah, so just after us, and it wasn't much longer after us, and so
right. Yep. And it was.
Don't know, we're all part of the PTH, Unlimited Service Group now.
US, yeah,
is what we're under. People want to say what they want to say, but they've treated me very well. As long as you do your job and you take pride in your work and do a decent job, they're going to take care of you just like any other company. So, I don't see a problem with it. So, but
I don't know anybody that works for them like we do or under them that has any kind of a problem with them.
No,
my experience, they've done everything they said they were going to do, and they haven't done a single thing that they said they weren't going to do. So,
yeah, well, we got an email like 8:00 in the morning. It says company-wide meeting at 11:00. And I was like, oh, we just got bought by Parstown. And everyone's like, no. I even asked my boss, and he's like, I don't know what it's about, because the managers had their meeting a half hour before ours for a company. So they told the managers, and the managers couldn't say it to nobody. They went straight from the managers meeting into a company-wide meeting. And he's like, after the meeting, I was like, I told you. He's like, man, I knew 30 minutes before you did. He's like, I'm everyone was freaking out. I was freaking out at the time, but it's been a really good thing for me. I've met a lot of cool people. My guy did a lot of fun things. And it's going to continue to grow. I think my role is going to change, and it's going to be a lot more fun. So
you still go out and fix stuff the next day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still going to go out and fix stuff. I get other stuff too. So
if anything, like you said, you've got more opportunities now than you did before. And that's the way it is for all of our people too, that you could hope to be whatever, the service manager of Duffy's AIS. Well, now, I mean, and that would be it. That's the, the pinnacle. Maybe we'll open some more branches. Well, now, literally, the sky's the limit. Who knows where what you'll end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
Way more opportunity than you would have with general parts, as big as they are.
Yeah, yeah. I was always told, the general parts is going to do some training stuff and everything, and now we're as part of USG, they're starting to focus more on some training stuff. So there's plenty of opportunities out there. So I'm just anxious to see what's going to happen. I'm not ready to come out of the field 100% yet. Probably by the time I'm 50, I say that, but right now I still enjoy fixing stuff. So until I get bored with that or don't want to do that anymore, I'm still going to be in the field some.
Well, and it's an important part of whatever you're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
to stay in touch, to keep sharp, because I tell you, it doesn't take very long of being out of the truck, and technology lapses you really quick. New stuff is coming out all the time, and I have a terrible memory. I forget things. That was always when I was back to when I was doing the PMs when I was a kid. I'd have to learn. I'd start the summer by breaking a bunch of crap the first 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got it. I remember that you can't reef on aluminum things and brass and blah blah blah. And by the end of the year, I was killing it. Same thing next summer, I'd have to relearn all that stuff again because I'd forget. So it doesn't take long for that to lapse. So you need to stay
Yeah.
plugged in a little bit at least.
As fast as our industry is changing, it's amazing. Like I said, I've been doing it 17 years, and how much has changed in 17 years? Like I said, I was talking to Greg. Greg's been doing it, 38 years. The things he's seen change. It's amazing where this industry is going. And now, every show we go to, there's robots cooking food. There's robots making pizza. There's robots flipping burgers. There's robots fixing French fries. It's like,
Yep.
okay, so now what? So who's going to fix the robots? It's not going to be a robot guy because the robot guys don't want to come into these nasty kitchens.
Right.
So now it's an opportunity for a guy like me, like, hey, you want to learn to fix robots? Well, hell yeah, I want to learn to fix robots. As soon as I see the robot, I was like, hey, I want to know how to fix that. And I think it's cool what this industry is all about.
And I think that's going to be a saving grace for us, as much as we're in the labor shortage that everybody else is in. When we go to career fairs and show robots that we're working on, it attracts a lot more people than the garbage disposals and the fryers do. So I think that's going to help for sure our recruiting.
Everybody always asks me, "Oh, show the videos of the nasty stuff." I'm like, if I show you guys the videos of the nasty stuff, no one's going to eat anywhere, and no one's going to want to do this job.
Right.
I gotta break them in easy. I get a new guy, I don't take him to the nastiest place. If I know I'm going to someplace nasty, I'm like, send him with somebody else. I'll go take care of this. We can't.
Yeah.
They'll quit in a heartbeat.
Those aren't the jobs you want to remember. Those are the jobs you want to forget.
Oh man, we got a certain grocery store chain that they just don't take care of their equipment. And they got combi ovens, and it's just every week clogged up with grease. I'm like, you guys are killing your own equipment.
But they're keeping you in business.
Oh, they pay their bills every single time. Like, hey, I gotta come at night and lift this thing up and strip it apart. Oh, that's fine. We're available this night. Like, all right.
Right.
I tell my boss, like, get someone else trained. I can't be the only guy doing this. It's like, I guess every time I see a call for this place come in, I want to go home. I just want to quit right then.
Yeah, that sounds like something you should be training the new guys on.
Oh, my son gets in there and digs it. So I don't know about your guys' policy, but if we do an after-hours job at night and no one's there, we're gonna be locked in somewhere. It's a two-person deal. So we used to not be that way. It used to be able to I used to get locked into like was in the middle of the night, changing the evaporators, working on coolers and stuff. And I don't know what happened. Then one day they're like, nope, we can't have one guy locked in the store anymore. It's a security thing. If someone gets hurt or if his equipment falls on me, who's going to come? Who's going to know I'm there hurt until next morning? So I mean that makes sense. Or someone break in, robbing the place.
All right.
So
good point.
So now anytime we're in after hours, we're locked in a place. It's two guys. So a lot of times, my son, he's it's overtime. So hey, I'll do it. So he always comes along. He learns. So he's pretty much doing it now. I just pretty much stand back and watch him.
How is your dynamic working with your son? I was saying earlier that working with your dad is not always the easiest thing. You guys seem to be all right.
We actually get along better working together than we did father-son role, him growing up as a kid. Like, I'll get frustrated with him now, and like now he's like, okay, we're at work, I'll just get right back to you. And that kind of like calms me down because I can't if we were at home and get right back to me, it'd be on. But I can't do anything big a scene at work, so our relationship's actually gotten better, and it's even gotten better outside of work before he moved out. So it was a weird dynamic. Um, he he tried this "you're in your uniform, you're not my dad" thing with me. So okay, so one day when he still lived here, it was like 5:45. We had to leave at 6. Like I hadn't heard his alarm go off. I had my uniform on. I was like, okay. So I left at 6 o'clock. Didn't wake up for nothing. He comes rolling in like 15, 20 minutes late. What? You wake me up? I said, oh, I had my uniform on. I wasn't your dad then. So after that, that whole dad policy and uniform thing went out the window. So he's a character, but he's catching on. He likes it. So your son, you said he was a master certified technician at CFESA at 19 years old.
He was a certified CFESA technician. Yeah, sorry. Not like I told you, I have a bad memory.
You said certified. That man took it wrong.
He was certified, yeah, at I believe it was 19, which now is probably not that. I mean, there's probably a lot of guys that do that now, but 10 years ago or so when that was, it wasn't that common. I'm not sure if he wasn't the youngest one, but yeah, very proud of him. He is a master certified technician now, and he's one of our lead techs. He's also one of the guys that's been going and doing trade shows and having a lot of luck with that. Actually, I think they have. I know they've got a few interviews, but they actually have 7 high school kids that want to do ride-alongs as soon as like next week when school ends. They want to do ride-alongs during the summer. Just awesome. From 1 or 2 career fairs, job fairs.
That's awesome. That's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to, if I can't, I understand I can't do them all. I'm located in Indianapolis, but we need to put together a program where we can do this in all of our locations across the country. We can have, the lead tech go out there, and I'd rather honestly be the lead tech than a salesperson or a manager. I know our time is valuable, and we're not in the field. We're losing money. But the technicians bring a different side of it. You have a manager go there, and a lot of times the manager just put out fluff and just don't really know what we do. But you get a technician there, he can explain to what we do. He can show us the pictures on the phone. He can say, hey, I did this, and you guys had a pretty cool little program where you guys had a couple contactors there, and if you could tell what was wrong with the contactor, you got entered for a chance to win that drill. I mean, that was cool. I liked that. That was a tremendous idea. It brought a lot of attention to your booth, I'm sure. So
it did. It was a great idea. One of the guys one of our technicians here in Sequoia, Josh, came up with that idea of bringing a meter, doing a little hands-on. They had a contactor that was locked up, and basically it was, if you can come on over here and try and use this meter, and then if you don't know how, we'll show you how. And look, boom, 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 this is how you do it. Look, now you can troubleshoot a contactor, and if you can do this, you can use a meter on anything. So it was great hands-on. And the meter, and instead of just having whatever keychains out on the counter, having the meter there and a piece of equipment or a part actually did draw people over to it. It worked just the way that we were hoping it would. So that is a really good idea. They take that rig around with them to all of the job fairs now. It really was a good idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. So I think it's something we should adopt across all of our brands. And just get it out there. I mean, what's it going to hurt? You're going to lose a couple hours productivity out of a guy, but who knows? You may find the next all-star, the next best tech you've seen, come out of high school, come out of trade school, or they have the armed forces, career days where the guys are going to come out and they come out of the armed services and they go through that stuff. So, I mean, who knows? You may find the next best tech in there.
It's also a good way to reward your lead techs or your head techs and show them that you have faith in them, and they don't all not all the techs have got great communication skills. That they're not all, just because you're good doesn't mean you're a good teacher. You might not be good at a career fair, but for the guys and ladies that you have confidence in to do that, it shows that you have confidence in, and you never know that person may blossom into whatever else instead of being, I don't want to say just a tech, that's a bad thing, but you could have all this potential that you don't know, that's untapped. And if they never got a chance to shine, you wouldn't know that.
that just a tech phrase got me in so much trouble. So when I went to last year in Cefessa, everyone's like, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm just a tech. They're like, no, you're more than a tech. If you're here, you're more than a tech. I'm like, I don't know about all that, guys. I'm like, I do some stuff on social media. I host a podcast. Like, no, you're more than a tech. Just wait. So
Well, even just a tech isn't just a tech. I mean, they keep the lights on. Techs they're the ones that bring the money in. There's no doubt about that. And without them, we'd be in big trouble.
So you mentioned, our industry is kind of like it's a very niche industry, but it's like it's not well known, and I think a lot of it's just the guys don't like talk about it, or don't share or show what we do, and I'm not this person, man. I used to be real introverted. I didn't want to talk to nobody, didn't want to show anything, and then jealousy got the best of me, and I started posting stuff and showing stuff off, and then I started taking more and more pride in my work, and I started doing things better, and it just kind of spiraled out of control. But I think if we get more guys to actually be proud of I think they're proud of what they do, but I don't think they want to like talk about what they do, because it's such a people. I mean, you talk about it. What's the first thing someone asks you? What restaurant should I not eat at? How dirty is this place? How bad is this place? I'm like, look, if you're eating there, don't worry about it. Did you get sick? Don't worry about it. I mean, like,
right. You don't want me to tell you. If you like it, if it's your favorite place, then don't ask, right?
Yeah, I tell everybody all the time, if you can see the kitchen, you're safe. I said, just because you pay $100 a plate doesn't mean it's cleaner than anywhere else. I tell a story all the time, but one of the most expensive places in Indianapolis was the dirtiest places in Indianapolis. I'm like, yeah, if you can see the kitchen, you're fine. So, I mean,
and the places with the cleanest kitchens have the worst food, right?
Yep.
The airport, schools, and hospitals. They have the cleanest kitchens, and generally speaking, not to offend anybody, but they generally have the worst food, the most boring food. So
my favorite places to work in are hospitals and schools, though, because it's always clean. They're always nice to you. They take care of you. It's like it's a weird dynamic, but those are like some of my two favorite places to work in.
But you wouldn't go there for dinner.
No.
Right, that's what I mean. You gotta break a few eggs and drop a few French fries if you're gonna put a decent meal out, I guess.
So sweet. So what do you do I'm gonna ask you some personal stuff. Nothing crazy. I know a couple things you do, but so you've got this motorcycle that's got a ton of miles on it.
I do. I have a couple of, but my original one is an 04 Road King Custom with 149,000 miles on it.
Holy smokes!
I bought it new.
I seen the picture the other day. Someone talked about the miles. Like, man, this guy goes all over the place. And like I said, you rode it to Cefessa last year, and you stopped on the way down and on the way back and went and did other stuff. I was like, this guy's crazy.
We love to ride, yeah. And my wife rides on the back. She also has her license. She had a bike for a while, but she prefers to ride on the back on the long trips. A few years ago, we rode to Alaska. She rode on the back. We are going to Denver the end of next month and Sturgis, and making a loop, doing a whole bunch of fun stuff. But we generally go on one big cross-country ride a year at least, and then ride as much as we can otherwise on the older bike. But she loves it, and I love having her back there. So yeah, if we can ride to a conference, that's one of the reasons I got so many miles on. I have so many miles on the old bike is because if I had a conference in the summer or a meeting, I'd ride. I've got a reason to ride. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
so that's cool. So did I hear you? You or your wife hunts? You're active hunters?
We both do. Yeah, we both do. Deer hunters mostly. Yeah. She hasn't gotten one yet, but she's gotten pretty close. And we always say this is the year. I'm pretty sure this is the year for her. But yeah, we have a hunting camp about an hour from here that is just in the middle of nowhere, dead quiet. We absolutely love it. Totally off the grid, solar, propane. We do have a satellite dish so that we can take conference calls there when we need to and check our emails. But yeah, we love it. Come October to New Year's, we're basically stationed at camp. We just love to hunt.
That's awesome. I love to hunt. I don't do as much as I wish I could. I need to lose some weight and probably be a little more comfortable doing it. But I go out to my brother's a little bit, and then I just public land hunt. I always try to find some land around here to lease, and just anybody that has land around here has got people on it, or they don't want to lease it. There's been quite a few farmers I know that got burned, and people signed waivers and get hurt. But the problem is, you signed the waiver, your insurance company doesn't. So insurance company pays it, and your insurance company turns around and sues the home, whoever owns the property. So that paper's like just says you won't sue them, but your insurance is still going to sue them. So.
Even that paper isn't. I'm no lawyer, but you can't sign away your right to sue. Doesn't matter what you sign.
Yeah. So
we've got property right out back. We usually have a tree stand right out back here, next to the main office. So during hunting season, if we're not at camp, I try to sneak out about 2:30 or so, walk down there, sit for a couple hours, and then come back up and do another hour's worth of work to catch up. I've shot plenty of deer right out the back door here, which is pretty sweet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a goal of mine. When all my kids are gone, I want to buy some property. I want all woods. My wife wants a pond. I told her we can dig a pond anywhere, pretty much. So that's when all the kids are gone, I'm gonna buy a property and probably just build a barn, put an apartment in there. So we'll see. Just something I want to do. So I won't keep you much longer, but I appreciate you coming on. I mean, you got a really cool story. Just I was fascinated by starting off 13 years old. My dad, the guy I call my dad that raised me, he did HVAC. By the time he came in my life, I was probably about 12, 13 years old. I remember riding in the back of his van, playing with his Wiggies. I'd touch them and they'd light up, and I was fascinated by, stab myself with the probes in the back of his van, getting bounced around. I didn't get right on many calls with him or anything, but he ended up changing over from HVAC into this industry. He kind of got me involved in this industry. It's just amazing what this industry can do for people. It just shows, your story. Yeah, your parent, your family did own it, but you worked your butt off for what to buy everything and everything that happened. So it's a really cool story.
Thanks. I'm flattered that you asked me on.
Yep. So I appreciate everybody coming in the chat tonight. I'm gonna keep it a short one tonight and let Pat get back to work. I'm sure he's got some more work to do. So take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Yep. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.